Space, the final frontier. Well, okay, not really. All right, take two. Here in the Mitten State, welcome to Code 47, bringing you all things Star Trek, spanning the quadrants, the best thing since the neutral zone.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Code 47 podcast on the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. This is episode 156. I am Charlie Carden, your humble servant, Trek Lord of West Michigan, joined as always by my number one on this podcast anyway, Peter Stein. Peter, good evening.
Hello. All
right. And we are joined by an extra special guest, a guy who's kind of a big deal in Star Trek podcasts. I know he's looking around and saying, huh? This would be Mr. William / Bill Smith of TrekGeeks. Bill, good evening to you and welcome.
Guys, thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here. It's not often that I get to do, guesting gigs every now and then because people assume that I'm this, long time Star Trek podcaster who doesn't do a lot of these things, but it's always fun for me to do.
Well, that's what I like to hear. Well, anytime in the history of any of our shows, when we have somebody on board who has not worked with us before, depending on whatever the hell show they're on, we say, hey, how did you get into whatever the hell topic this is? So how did you become a Star Trek fan?
It was either 1975 or 1976. There was this massive clash of the Titans that used to occur in my home growing up every evening around 6 o'clock. I wanted to watch The $6 Million Man, Colonel Steve Austin, Lee Majors.
He's the dude.
And my elder brother, who's about 8 or 10 years older than I was, wanted to watch Star Trek every night at 6 o'clock. And they were on competing channels in Boston. So he usually won because he was the older brother. But we went through this dance every single night. I want to watch Colonel Steve Austin. He wants to watch Captain Kirk and Mr. Spock. And although he always won, I never really told him until later that I secretly loved watching Star Trek. This was just the dance that we went through.
Right.
So in 1979, when TMP came out, he actually took me to a matinee. At that point, I was almost 10 years old. And we both fell asleep during TMP. So
the gentle trip through V'ger.
Yeah. Quick, switch to a shot of Kirk.
Yeah, right.
But
intense.
But that's kind of how it started, and my fandom just sort of grew from there. From there, once Wrath of Khan came out, it was all Critical Mass from 1982 on, and ever since, Star Trek has been in my life just about every single day somehow.
Yeah, same. Awesome. I love it. Good deal. Well, we got a great show. We're talking about another couple of episodes of Strange New Worlds. In this case, episodes 6 and 7 of season 3. And then Bill's going to take his leave of us. And then Peter and I are going to finish talking about Deep Space Nine, the end of the series. Definitely time to cry. But
sure.
Before we do that, going to give a quicker shout out. We're kind of paring things down because if you are part of our Patreon squad, you're a part of our Patreon squad, and you know why, because you get exclusive shows. You get shows early, like this show drops 1 or 2 days early, depending on when we record it. Shows with no ads, a cool exclusive Discord channel for as little as 7 days for free to get started, half off your first month, and as little as $2 a month to stay on board. It's very cool. It's very easy. Patreon.com/Secret Friends Unite. We would love to have you check us out. And that's that. Let's move on to talking about some especially strange new worlds. Kicking off with episode 6. Peter, I'm doing all the talking. Would you like to do the honors and read this summary?
All right. Episode 6, The Salat Who Ate Its Tail.
Ouch.
The USS Farragut is attacked by a large scavenger ship, and much of the crew is injured, including Captain Varel. The Enterprise arrives to help with Spock, Chapel, Scotty, and Nyota Uhura, joining acting Captain James T. Kirk as his temporary command crew. Foreshadowing much. The Enterprise is captured by scavengers and the Farragut pursues them. Shenanigans ensue.
So many shenanigans. Bill, how are we feeling about this episode? How do you feel about Strange New Worlds in general? We should probably start there.
I love Strange New Worlds in general. I wish they do more of the Strange New Worlds. and less of the, let's get everybody back together or let's retread ground we've already done. But we are where we are. I
Yeah.
wish this show had more than 10 episodes a season, which is really what it boils down to. For some of the things they want to do, which are high and lofty, which I admire and I love, I still want to see more of what the show's supposed to do. So that out of the way. I'm kind of on the fence with this episode because I like it more as an introduction to Kirk as a potential command figure than I do Star Trek 2009. But
Yeah.
it's Star Trek Strange New Worlds. I've had enough Kirk already. This is Pike's show. That's kind of my default reaction. As far as the episode itself, I think it's a fine episode. It's weird in a couple of ways to me, but I imagine we'll dig into that once we sort of peel back some of the layers. But that's kind of my initial reaction to the episode.
Gotcha. Peter, what's your first take?
I'm kind of in the same boat. I like some of this introduction to Kirk. I'm gonna probably take the slightly spicier take and say that I'm not the biggest fan of how Kirk doubts himself as much in the beginning. Like, I'm okay with it a bit, but it kind of dragged a little bit. Like, revisiting it during the episode is fine. Like, you need that second guessing, and like, it's his first time. Okay, fine. But the first minute where like he had to leave into the ready room was just dragged out a little bit too long for, the brash young lieutenant,
Right.
who we know from even in this show from earlier. So it's just, it seemed a little bit, I get that we're trying to show that like he's not as assured of himself as we see him in Command of the Enterprise, but there's a way to do that. And then there's a way to do it without undermining some of just his natural self-confidence. So
Gotcha. I erred on the higher side of this. I enjoyed this episode. I do admit that you're playing with fire when you're playing with cannons. So, for example,
how I feel about that.
For example, the long heart-to-heart that ends the episode with Pike and Kirk, it's definitely not canon, because let's think back to the Menagerie, right? And they're like, hey, do you guys know, Chris Pike? Boop, boop, and he's like, yeah, well, I met him once when he became fleet captain, and they kind of snuck that in there when they did, well, for 5 minutes, I'm captain of your ship and my ship and this weird space station we're going to blow up, and now I'm not fleet captain anymore. Let me take the badge off. Bloop. So, okay, well, they got around that, whatever it is. But for Kirk to say in that canonical instance, no, I don't really know him, yet they're having this, come here, slugger, let me tell you all about being a Starfleet captain. Yeah, they're not dancing around continuity quite as bad as Discovery did, because there's some stuff we don't need to get into Discovery.
There's a difference between dancing through the fire and scattering the embers. We're not scattering the embers here.
Yeah, right. With a leaf blower. And again, they absolutely, I said there was a smaller deduction for the absolutely stolen plot from TOS of the Doomsday Machine, because it was, in a lot of ways, it was kind of beat for beat. I do like that the monster, which I dubbed Big Crunch, which is also what I called this episode, looked a lot like the creature in Thanos' Menagerie in the MCU, the big one, and that's smashing buildings in New York City, because it's got the big teeth.
It looked like one of the Chitauri creatures.
Yeah, the Chitauri, which Oxtra always called them the Shitari, because he thought they were such a ripoff, which I can't necessarily disagree, but that for another show. So, yeah, I mean, that was my initial thought. I enjoyed it. It was kind of nice to get some good Kirk time, but I think I'm kind of with Bill that it's like, all right, well, we got a Kirk. People seem to engage with this Kirk. Let's do some more Kirk. Are they driving us home? Bill, something we've talked about a lot is teeing things up to do a TOS year one, that's a headline that's speculatively kind of making the way. Peter is diametrically opposed to it, I can tell, because we talked about it a lot. And we even had a feature on this show, I think 2 years ago, when we talked about, well, how would we cast the rest of the characters, and what episodes do you think would look great if they were redone again, or how could they sneak stuff in? So I'm not so diametrically opposed to it. I mean, Bill, where would you land if they were to move this into like, here's, the year that you didn't see on the 5-year mission?
I think that I'm okay with it, and I say that with I don't think it's ever going to happen.
No.
I think that with the Skydance merger and Paramount, it's going to be a while before we see some new Trek on television. Even with some of the things they've already announced, like I think Tawny's sort of workplace comedy about Trek is done before it ever starts. I think that I think we could be about to enter a new fallow time, as Larry Nemechek refers to it, where there's no new Trek for a while.
Yeah.
That said, I've been wrong about plenty of stuff before. If I'm wrong about this, ultimately I'll be happy about it, but I think there needs to be a little breathing room. I don't want in 2028 Star Trek Year One to kick off after the last 6 episodes of Strange New Worlds happen in 2027. I just don't.
Right.
I kind of want there to be a little more space, a little more gap between them. Now, does that mean that we lose the potential to do that? If we do, that's fine. But I think I'm also going to go back to kind of the whole canon thing, if you don't mind, real quick.
Please.
Because I have kind of a hot take.
Please.
I'm sick to death of canon.
I just felt Peter's heart skip a beat. Boop.
Most Star Trek fans confuse the notion of canon and continuity. Star Trek does not need a canon. Look at Batman, look at James Bond, look at Superman. Those franchises have been around for over 75 years in one form or another. And we're able to tell new stories and not get hung up on the minutia. There's an overriding continuity that guards it. Like Batman, his parents were killed outside a movie theater and he was orphaned. Okay, great. Superman, baby from alien planet, adopted by Kansas farmers. Got it. James Bond, orphan, finds his way into MI6. Cool. Why can't we do the same with Star Trek? So as far as the canon smoothing that occurs with the conversation between Pike and Kirk on the Enterprise about, hey, that's what it's like to be captain if you're going to wear the long pants, I think I can deal with it.
Yeah.
That's my hot take.
No, I would actually tend to agree that sticking to a continuity point of view is fine. It's more of a frickin' decide which continuity you're in, because claiming to be in one doesn't work if you're not following the continuity with that continuity.
Well, but I mean,
go ahead, please.
I think it's how closely, you want that to be. The idea of a continuity, presupposes that you're going to get most of the broader strokes correct. Even within Star Trek itself and TOS, they, contradict themselves many times.
True.
Like cloaking devices. Do the Klingons have them? Don't they? Do the Romulans have them? Don't they? I think that, what Kirk says in, TOS with regard to, I met him once when he was fleet captain. That is true. He did meet him the first time when he was fleet captain. But I think that we as Star Trek fans tend to glom onto that dialogue as it was written because they had no idea they were building a 60-year-old franchise back then.
That's very true.
Or if you take a look at, Arena with the Gorn. Kirk says, I'm told it's a Gorn. He never says he's never seen a Gorn. We just know this is not a Gorn that he's used to seeing.
Right.
Once he sees it. So
he's the smooth-headed ones like the Klingons, right?
Yeah, and I think
give him a mustache.
We haven't gotten to this point here in your coverage of it, but I think that we're going to see more of, that kind of trend over the course of the rest of Strange New Worlds. But that's what Dan and I have been talking about on Thursday Night Geeks and on TrekGeeks, that we think that this is headed for the canon smoothing of the Gorn, but that's neither here nor there. So those are kind of my hot takes. I think that Strange New Worlds is doing the best they can. The job of any writer is to write well and write effectively, even when there's an overarching canon or continuity. Discovery decided they didn't want to deal with that, so they jumped the ship and actually created more canon problems for themselves. Strange New Worlds is doing moderately okay by comparison, I think.
Yeah. That I can agree with. Yeah. Gotcha. All right. Other thoughts? Is there a better title out there than Big Crunch Makes Good, which is what I call this episode?
I think that hilariously, this episode makes my analog canon point for me.
You think so?
Where they had to fall back to and I thought this was hilarious because I worked with these systems. I have them running in my house, where they had to go back to 1980s telephones to communicate with each other. I thought that was hysterical, running copper lines throughout the ship.
That was.
But I've talked about this for a while before, but like a lot of people are like, oh, why does TOS have analog buttons and all of this new stuff doesn't? And I always go back to maybe there was a good reason for it. Before all this stuff came out, my argument was the Romulan War. So you can come up with whatever reason that happens later. But, you know, or like the Romulan where I based it off of, like the Cylons, like, you know,
Yeah,
if someone's going to
right.
do cyber warfare on your ship, you want things that aren't going to bust.
Right. You want buttons that aren't labeled so you can just, well, maybe what does this one do?
Unless it says jettison pod.
Yeah,
right.
that might be a problem.
Oh, come on, Finny.
So I thought that was a fun little kind of, I don't know if that was the thought behind it, but I thought it was a nice little wink and nudge towards the fact that there's more analog stuff on the TOS Enterprise.
For sure.
Yeah.
So
yeah, not bad. All right. Okay. Well, we if there aren't Bill, any final thoughts? We good?
No, I think we're good there. You know, ultimately, I think that this tells a compelling story, right?
Yeah.
You know, is it a little unbelievable? Yes. Is it absolutely a bottle show because it looks like they were trying to save money between episodes and just reuse sets? Absolutely, it does. But I think that they create enough drama and enough conflict that's resolvable, kind of under the Roddenberry rule, that that is easy to watch and crafts a believable backstory for Kirk.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I have to agree that I think that it was a little too indecisive of him for a man who's supposed to be a stack of book with legs. He froze once, you know, back when he was a lieutenant with the whole gaseous creature.
Right.
I don't think he would freeze this much. I think that's my largest nit to pick with this. I think I have to agree there.
Okay. Interesting. We'll see where is this the last that we've seen of Kirk this season? I mean, I know because I've seen the episodes forward because I have a screen repeater.
Idea.
Do you think? What do you think? You think they could squeeze him back in? I don't think they do. I think we're done with him.
I've seen up through 8.
Okay.
And I have no problem telling you he's coming back. So he's coming back.
I figured.
Yeah. I think I've already forgotten 8. Which one? Okay, we'll get back to that because now I can't remember. Oh no! All right. Well, let's cover episode 7, which is what is Starfleet? Are you my mother?
That's a great title for that one too.
Yeah. Ortegas' brother Beto, who's kind of obnoxious, films a documentary about Starfleet while the Enterprise is ordered to transport a creature called the Jakaru into a war zone for the Lutani, who suck, a non-Federation species. I'm obviously just sneaking in parts that I think are funny. Beto is aggressive in his questioning with the crew, aiming to portray Starfleet in a negative light. Well, Beto, and we've had him, he's more like Beta. Oh, Beta. We've had him around for a couple of episodes now. He was likable until now, but I think things are going to tilt back in the other direction. I'll make a quick note before I throw it to Bill. I did love it that in the cold open, the intro voice that says what you're about to hear sounds just like Alexa. Did anybody else pick up on that?
I did. Yeah.
I didn't notice that it was Alexa, but yeah.
Yeah.
Or
Siri.
Like, that sounds like a AI generated something or other.
Absolutely correct. All right, Bill, take us through it. How are you feeling about this episode?
I kind of like it in a sense. This presents a classic Star Trek conundrum in an unconventional way for Star Trek. You know, in almost 60 years of the franchise, we've never really had an episode that's done this. Kind of presented it, you know, as an episode of something, you know, as something to watch or consume. It does look heavy-handed at the beginning, which I think was kind of the intent of Beto's documentary. And there is kind of the resolution. It's not as bad as it seems, but ultimately I think it was something fresh and something that was entertaining enough. I'm glad that they don't do this all the time because I think it'd be hard to watch. But as kind of a one-off, as kind of an experiment, or to see the output of what he was doing, I did kind of like it in that sense.
Yeah.
Cool. Gotcha. Peter, first take.
This felt like 2 different episodes to me. Well, one is not an episode. So it felt like there's an episode in the reboot Battlestar Galactica where there is a reporter, Xena Warrior Princess, doing
Deanna Xena Warrior Princess. Oh, might be a new name for the episode.
Where she is doing also a documentary on the fleet, and originally starts with like this very, very negative outlook, and then ends up being more positive, which is kind of the same sort of arc we do here.
Mm-hmm.
B plot aside, a lot of the documentary stuff, including the opener, reminded me heavily trigger warning, of Axanar. So
Not that guy. We don't talk about him anymore.
I hesitated to bring it up because this didn't con fans out of $1.5 million and then spend all the money before it ever made anything. So
I'll lay my soul bare. We've had him on the show, but it was we interviewed him. It was a lot of years ago. It was before we even started doing this. It was the old show.
We did 10 years ago as well. We had him on twice before we realized we'd been duped into him creating a film studio. And if he wants to yell at us or come at me, that's fine. My lawyer is fantastic, but
so let's not use his name. We could be talking about anybody. We don't have fantastic.
I just said the name of the show.
Yeah. And the money was gone before he ever decided to try to actually make the movie. So at least this is a successful attempt at creating a faux documentary within Star Trek.
Well, I'm just saying, like the short that we saw was very much like how the documentary stuff that Beto does play out.
For sure.
So I don't know if that was like intentional or that's just how documentaries are generally made in this sort of style, and that's just what you do.
Yeah.
So, but that was one thing that it was like a lot of the camera angles, kind of the janky found footage sort of deal, and then the readouts of like, hey, this is from a security camera in this hall, blah blah blah. Like, I'm not saying this is bad, but like that was just running through the back of my head the whole time.
Same.
So.
Right. This further confounded my issues with the damn rank stripes. Are they different based on the department that you're in? Because in this, we get much like you said in the BSG episode, it's like Leodama, Captain, Colonial Fleet Reserve. Where in this we get, Spock, Lieutenant, Sciences, but he has a stripe and a half. And you have, so-and-so, or you have Nyoto Uhura, Ensign, no stripe. So, okay, that part is the same as TOS, but then if I have two stripes, I'm a lieutenant. But then we know that Una's lieutenant commander, but she has two solid stripes, but she's command. Why? It's so simple. It's so simple. Why can't they just do it? Go back to the pips, damn it. I don't care. It's the pips. I know what's going on.
Well, if you remember when Pike first boards the Discovery in season 2 of Discovery, right? And he's wearing that yellow Discovery era tunic. They had to go back.
Prize.
Yeah, the Disco Prize. They had to go back and add the ranks on the sleeve in post because they forgot to put them on the uniform.
That I did not know.
Does not surprise me.
I'm not surprised that there are continual rank challenges on Strange New Worlds. It's been the story since it premiered a couple of years ago, and they still haven't got it down.
Even though there is a page in the Star Trek Encyclopedia and has been there since '94.
Going back even earlier to the Franz Joseph Starfleet Technical Manual.
It's right here
from 1974.
Yeah, and I have that over there too. But I'm just saying, the encyclopedia is
that's got the same thing,
It's not hard. It's not hard at all. It's nice if they would adapt like the TNG style. Okay, well, a stripe and a half would be a lieutenant junior grade. So it's like
if they really wanted to like do a soft retcon where the ranks line up to the pips. Fine.
Yeah.
Just do it. Make it make sense for yourself.
Right. I know. And again, talk about picking of the nits, which was another famous Star Trek fan book back in the 90s, the Nitpicker's Guide, of which I had every volume of it. Just kind of makes me crazy. I did write that the whole body cam angle for every station on the bridge, if that was your job and you knew there was a camera on you 24/7, 365, wouldn't you be like, trying to move around?
I thought that was a little weird.
Yeah. I mean,
I imagine they were plugging into the internal sensor network. It does explain a lot about court martial and why there are so many different angles of the bridge when they're going back and looking at the tape. Like
there you go.
Kirk pressing his hand on the jettison pod, for example.
Right. Why was the close up? It was the B-roll stuff, the AV stuff. Yeah.
But you're right. It's a little unsettling to know that the whole time you're there. I mean, you could make the slightest face at something that Pike says, like, here we go.
Or you don't think somebody's looking and you're getting a booger out of your nose.
Right.
No, nobody does that.
And all of a sudden that's trapped in Starfleet records forever. So I can see where this is a bad idea.
Cut loose a big fart. Everybody does it. I mean, come on, let's face it.
And at least we do know from like later stuff is like it's not recorded everywhere because there are like there's other investigations where it's like, what happened?
Yeah.
Right.
We don't have the footage from his bathroom. Oh, okay.
That's probably for the best.
I would think so. They did sneak in, like with Lon when he's interviewing her, says, well, what about, Starfleet firing first? You guys wouldn't. What if it was the Gorn? Would you fire first? And you just heard this chirp, chirp, chirp. So there was a subtle, not so subtle Gorn callback. I did like the Space Moths angle of it. It was very Starfleety, like, we got some bad aliens doing some bad stuff, and once we figured out about it, we're not going to participate. And unfortunately, this moth has to throw itself off the balcony by flying into the sun. Very poetic. But Starfleet did the Starfleet thing. They're like, we're going to set up buoys around the planet. These other aliens aren't going to be corrupted by you guys. F you guys. Big middle finger, excuse me. I loved how, and I never noticed this before, but if I go back, I think I went back and looked at some images, even back to Discovery, when the Strange New Worlds Enterprise bridge goes to red alert, all the lines are everywhere, and it looks like Tron, which is just awesome.
It was really cool.
Yeah,
it's not remotely visually canon, but if I accept the fact that there's been a visual refresh, there has to be after 60 years, 55 years, it does look pretty badass.
Yeah, I like it. I love, because it's funny. I tell Peter every time I tune it on, because I work at home, but I have in my office I have a little TV, so I'll turn on the Paramount Plus Star Trek channel, the one that just runs live. Yep. And they're real big in showing episodes of Enterprise. So I had a couple of on Friday, and I love that the NX-01 is on the wall in the captain's ready room as you're headed out the door. I'm like, I'd like to see it get some respect, and how it got some respect last season when Boimler and Tawny were on. That was awesome. So, and then we have Scott Bakula showing up at Las Vegas and talking about, well, I really got an idea about a show. Please, Captain. Please.
Other than that, you've no strong feelings.
Admiral President. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
The
Lieutenant whatsoever.
Lieutenant who are chasing the Space Moth seem like dicks. That kind of plays out, pretty much paint by numbers. I loved Uhura's quote, and it was close to the end, where she says space is about being dark and cold and full of death. Isn't that what Carl Urban said in Trek 09 when he first met Kirk? And I don't love that movie, but I love him. So I was kind of pleased to see that. I didn't love that the episode ends with, it looks like Pike playing the ukulele. So is he in like the Mumford and Sons on the Enterprise? Because my wife is saying, but I'm not. It was mandolin. All right, mandolin win. There you go.
Which is little bit better.
Even if it were the ukulele, I'm going to stand up for ukulele fans everywhere.
Bill stands for ukuleles.
One of our great friends and fans on TrekGeeks, a wonderful retired music teacher named Pete Vanderpart. He is at Vegas every year walking around with his ukulele. He stops by our booth all the time. And it brings a moment of calm and zen to the crushing Vegas, dealer's room, which is fast-paced and hurried. Oh, yeah. So even if Pike is playing the ukulele, I only hope he's not playing Tiny Bubbles.
Oh boy! Yeah. No, I'm pretty sure it was a mandolin, but I
agree with you.
Oh my goodness gracious! But other than that, yeah, I scored this one a little lower than the first one, because I thought the B story with the moth and the bad aliens and stuff, while it's kind of Trekish, I liked it that our people stood up and did the Trek thing, and I liked the heart to heart that Uhura has with Beto, who's her sort of boyfriend at the end, saying, hey, this is a lot of misplaced aggression on your part. Starfleet's not your problem. Your problem is you got to put it back together with your sister. You're upset about this thing or that thing. It's not Starfleet. And he says, he listens, and it's nice. I mean, everybody has hopefully had a chat with a friend who's being the dipshit, and you say, hey, you're not really mad at me. You're really mad at ABC, and you should potentially turn your attention to directing that. I like that part. I did. Yeah, I wrote that whoever his editor was would probably see this like super negatively biased, focused, Daco that he's making and just slap it down cold. But you know what? For the purpose of how it ended up playing out, I do think BSG did it better, but the BSG one had a huge reveal at the end that was like,
right.
So
yeah, we didn't there was some extra twists going on there.
Absolutely
that
correct.
Going on here. So
gotcha. Very good.
I do like the twist that this one had, though. I mean, in the end, we were the problem.
Right.
Our future, soon to be future generation of people who went out into space, and we became these sort of militant harvesters of things like TARDISes, or would they be TARDI? I'm not really sure.
Oh, you're talking about in the previous episode. Not
I'm sorry. I thought it was this. I apologize.
That's okay.
It's my timey-wiminess. My bad.
We didn't even talk about that.
As there was a TARDIS in the previous episode.
There's absolutely a TARDIS in there that showed up almost immediately on all the regular websites. But
my apologies. Please don't write me and say you don't know your Star Trek guy. It's clear I don't.
So. Well, you know what? It was was claimed in the globule that was what we're talking about. So you get a pass. Yeah, you're right. We didn't even talk about that in the previous episode. I love that. I thought that was a super cool deal. So yeah, if humanity went off and it was very. Remember that early episode of Enterprise? Was it Terra Nova?
Yeah.
The people who they landed on a planet, but they ended up underground, and then they didn't really talk people anymore, and they were all covered in mud. And this was just the space version of that, but somehow we also have the Chitauri beast, I guess. I mean, it was
both of these episodes have humanity being less than what they should be.
Right.
In starting with the sail out await its tail in the past, or with what is Starfleet in the here and now. There's no way the Enterprise should have gotten this order. This is absolutely absurd and ridiculous. It's as bad as them playing nice with the Baku and the Sona during the whole Jem'Hadar thing.
Right.
In Insurrection. It's ludicrous, but we find our way out of it.
Right.
We hope that there's something to glean from it.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I enjoy when they do the stories where Starfleet can make mistakes.
Yeah.
I don't like it when they decide that Starfleet is evil, because that's happened a couple times.
Yep.
We didn't even have a Badmiral to kick this one off.
No.
We didn't have Anthony Zerbe to be there and be like, it was for the Federation. I don't know what's going on. And then he gets killed by the bad guy.
Like,
send your ships.
Yes, send your ships. You suck.
I actually have the book on the creation of that film by Michael Piller. It's a really interesting book. There's some really weird stuff that got cut out of that film, and if you read it, you'll be very happy.
Did it show up in the deleted scene? There's some weird deleted scenes, I know.
The deleted scenes are fine generally.
Yeah.
It's weirder. I'm not even going to spoil anything. It's weird.
Well, it's totally unrelated to anything we're talking about here. Anthony Zerbe, who was the Badmiral in that, and James Bond's, I think it was A View to a Kill, they both died the same way, face exploding. If you've ever seen that.
That's right.
Because he gets locked up in a hyperbaric chamber, right? And the bad guy goes, well, screw you.
That's right.
That was in the 80s, though, Peter, before your time. Before your time.
Not before ours, though.
No, well, you're older than me, but it's still our time.
True. It's true. But I look amazing.
You've got darker hair than me, and whether that's natural or not, that's none of my business.
It is natural. I didn't have any gray anywhere until I started podcasting, so that should tell you something about my podcasting partner Dan Davidson. So,
oh my God! For me, it was my ex-wife.
Shots
hands
fired.
down.
Anyone who knows the relationship between Dan and I know that we take shots like this and have for our entire 30-year friendship. So it's no surprise.
Very much reminds me of Todd, who I do our other show with. So yeah, not surprising at all. Well, that wraps us up for Strange New Worlds. We're back with episodes 8 and 9 next time. And our guest has been Bill from TrekGeeks. Bill, this has been fantastic. I have been cultivating a group of guests that I love to have back because I know they're awesome. So you are now part of my stable of artists like Motown. You're part of my Motown now. Congrats. I'm from Detroit, so that means something.
I've always wanted to be part of the Star Trek Wall of Sound, which is the name you should give this from now on.
The Star Trek. Oh, I'm going to change it in the spreadsheet.
I take no royalties. You may use that free of any copyright or claims on my end. If we're going to talk about Motown, you can't do it without talking about the Wall of Sound.
Love it. Good stuff. Where do people engage with TrekGeeks? Where do people find you? Give me some web addresses. Give me some socials.
Yeah. Of course, you can find just about everything we do on the TrekGeeks network, because we do have several podcasts under our umbrella, like Sci-Fi Sisters and the Big Sci-Fi podcast over on TrekGeeks.com. My podcasting partner on TrekGeeks for the last 10 years, Dan Davidson, and I also do a live Thursday stream on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram called Thursday Night Geeks, which is ongoing currently. We just had an episode the other night, and every year we get a whole bunch of Star Trek people together as a part of Trek Talks, which is a telethon we created a few years ago along with Star Trek Enterprise star John Billingsley, who is Dr. Phlox.
We've worked with John several times, yeah,
to support the Hollywood Food Coalition. And in the first 4 outings of the telethon, we've raised close to $450,000 with the help of stars from all over Star Trek to help that incredible organization. So Trek Talks 5, hard to believe, is coming up in April. And we hope to raise another huge chunk of money to push us over that $500,000 mark for the first 5 instances of the telethon. So we can only keep our fingers crossed.
That's awesome. Terrific. And we will be there, obviously, to support you in any way that we can, and by having you back again. So, well, cool. All right. We're going to say goodbye to Bill. Bill, thanks for being here. And we will be back shortly after this little pause to talk about Deep Space Nine. So we'll be right back. All right, we're back, and our guest was Bill. What a hell of a nice guy, and the fact that a luminary of Star Trek posting wanted to hang out with us two dipshits from Grand Rapids, Michigan, that was pretty cool. So we were super psyched about that. But I can't say I'm super psyched about the sadness that overtook me when I wrapped up watching the end of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Yes, we're on to the final portion of, and I say in the show notes,
psyched about the episodes, but we're
right.
psyched about the fact that it's ending.
But I say arguably the finest of the Star Trek series. I would can't imagine that somebody could ever convince me that DS9 is not the best that Trek has ever done and potentially could ever do. But again, that's my opinion. Entertainment is here for your amusement, and I hope you feel differently. And if you feel differently, I would love to hear from you. But for me, and maybe it's because, I lived it. I mean, and it was, this last season was at a very unique time in my life. I was graduating from college. I very foolishly got married as I was graduating from college, so I have those memories mixed in there. She and I both love Deep Space Nine, so I have those memories mixed in there. But it was also over 25 years ago, so some of the memories are probably a little fuzzy. But in rewatching these, I'm reminded, and Peter, I said this, I think, when we started talking season 7, that the show just had no right to be this good. It's just unbelievable. And this last batch of episodes capped with a finale that I think can never be outdone. I just don't think so. And again, we will talk about the finale to wrap this up. This might be a slightly shorter segment because there's really only 5 with these put together, the final one being considered a 2-parter in syndication, whatever it is. But on down the road, there'll be a time when we as a show get into talking about 2-parters or feature-length presentations. So when that happens, we will do a much deeper dive into this. But with all that preamble, Peter, let's get started. Talk to me about episode 21.
Oh, 21. I scrolled too far. Episode 21, When It Rains. Directed by Michael Dorn. Story by Renee Echevarria and Spike Steingasser. Teleplay by Renee Echevarria. Aired May 9th of 99. Sisko orders Kira, Garrick, and Odo to Cardassia to assist Cardassians in resistance tactics as Damar's rebellion gains ground. Bashir makes a shocking discovery about the disease that is ravaging the Founders, and Ducat's cover is blown by Sobor.
Whoops!
Gowron arrives on Deep Space Nine.
That's going to work out just fine. Yep, absolutely. Man, talk about a lot of moving parts. So
there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Which is why we have the episode name, When It Rains.
Absolutely. And this, when Kira, in order to assimilate with the Cardassians, takes on a Starfleet commission with the rank of commander. So one of those things that a long time ago I said, wow, DS9 was one of the only shows that during its last few episodes, they had one person of every rank, ensign through captain. Pretty cool, huh? Doesn't really matter. Yes, we had an ensign, a JG, a lieutenant commander, and then a captain. And then we had Bill. I don't know. Bill Ross was a vice admiral, but he wasn't on all the time. Admiral, so. Yeah, exactly. Vice admiral. So awesome stuff. And it's in the next episode is kind of my favorite part because Damar has a sideman named Rusat who's just he's basic bitch Cardassian. If I could use the B word in the title, that would be the name of this episode, because he is everything about a Cardassian that people hate. He's arrogant. He's very fond of himself. He's extremely superior. And he
severely prejudiced.
Exactly. And he really gets what's coming to him, which is pretty terrific. So, I love Ducat's cover being accidentally blown by Sobor. Now that does happen in the last few minutes of the episode, that Sobor has gone to the sacred vaults to get the sacred books, the ones that have no words in them. And the Customogen. And it happens in this episode that Ducat has taken up with with Wynn in the biblical sense, as it were, in the orb sense. I don't know. How would they say they're doing it? Because I always say in the biblical sense is an expression.
Carnal sense.
In the carnal sense. However it is the Cardassian or that Bajorans do it, which according to, do you remember that really awkward exchange back in season 6 where after Odo and the female changeling have sex and she goes, oh, so that's how solids have sex? And she's like, well, that's the way humans and Cardassians, or not Cardassians, that's the way humans and Bajorans do it. So we have the same swerve as the Bajorans. Now I'm getting off topic. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, they have a struggle. And why does Wynn have the knife in her hand while this is happening? Do you remember the circumstance? Because it just kind of finds its way into Sobor, and when he bleeds, it spills out on the book, and now she can read it. Yeah.
I don't. It was just there on the table for some reason.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a letter opener, right?
Oh yeah.
They still use those then. But we get our last great Klingon arc of the series gets rolling.
It lasts for 2 episodes only,
right? But, right. Exactly. It's good stuff. Oh, good. Oh, Peter, I can tell my ride's there. The fire engine in your background.
There's a fire station literally a block from my house.
So great episode. But again, this is part 5 of 10, where really it's part 5 and 9. So I kind of downgraded the numbering because parts 9 and 10 are the last. But I don't know what happened in this episode that really stood out to you.
There's some really interesting bits here with Kira, like how there's an argument about whether or not the Cardassians would accept a Bajoran, and then Sisko finds like the masterful yet dumbass way of like, oh, we'll just give her a Starfleet commission.
Right. Does it seem like maybe that wouldn't get the job done? Because isn't the part that she's a Bajoran kind of the bigger the deal, not that she is part of the Bajoran military?
I think they're like, well, it'll hurt Cardassian pride less if it's not the Bajoran militia.
Oh my God.
So it's like, I get it, but it was kind of funny in the sense that it was like, oh, you
so
finally got Kira in a Starfleet uniform for the last couple episodes of the show.
Right.
That's hilarious.
And then at the end of it, she takes it off. Once the mission is over, she goes back to being Lieutenant Colonel Kira.
Which you totally expect.
Right.
But there's a really funny moment with like Garrick clearly like tweaking her uniform, like he makes it. It's like it's like she's the only one who has a perfectly Garrick tailored Starfleet uniform. Because everyone else is out of the replicator.
Just exactly. It'd be like, oh, I'm an XXL. Okay. Oh man, the arms are too short. Yeah, I thought that was good.
That was kind of fun.
Right.
I thought that was fun. Gowron coming onto the station. I always love having Gowron. I will add that I don't like how Gowron is used in these 2 episodes because I like Gowron as a character so much, which we'll get into in the next one.
It was really out of left field. There's no doubt about it.
Like the beginning of this one where it's like, oh, he wants to take the glory for it. Yeah, that's a politician move. Okay. Whatever.
Yeah, right.
Like that tracks. So Gowron in When It Rains totally makes sense. It's Gowron in the next episode that's a little funky for me.
Yeah, because he starts to act. He starts to act a little bit more soap opera-y, like which we'll get into.
And we also have Section 31 coming back. Like we don't see them, but we get the ultimate reveal towards the end where it's like, a minute.
Hold on a second here. Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, then we jump into episode 22, which is Hacking into the Wind. Mike Vihar doing the directing. Ron Moore, the one and only, handling everything else. So there's no doubt it's going to be fantastic. For May of 99, Kira masterminds a plot to steal a brain energy dampening weapon. Gowron's political agenda against Martok is endangering the war effort and prompts Worf to instigate a power shift within the Klingon Empire.
And not just a minor one. This is classic Worf power shift dynamics.
Worf is
Whenever Worf decides that power needs to change in the Klingon Empire, people end up dead.
Yeah, he does kind of have a reputation. So you just, if it wasn't another Klingon, they'd be like, oh, buddy, okay, I gotcha. You know what I mean? But yeah, no, the last, 5 minutes of this, of that act are pretty unmistakable. So, things come to a head within this. We have a great exchange. And now I can't remember if it was within the last episode or if it was in the beginning of this one, but Rusat decides to get in Kira's face, and she does essentially what Kira did to Damar last season when they were on the station together. He just whoops the shit out of him. Her beating up Damar was so much juicier because it was an extended sequence. With this, he like lays on, he just twists her down, and I love that. Like, he's like, I guess I struck a nerve, and he's like, no, Crick, this is striking a nerve.
Yeah. And then Garrick is just hiding in the shadows
with a gun. Need me? I'm here.
Why did you step in early? It seemed like you had it all in hand. It's like,
I thought he was
classic Garrick.
I was enjoying myself. That was fun. There's not a lot of fun going around in this place. It kind of sucks.
Like, we later get that with I can't remember her name. The person at the old lady at the house where she like Mila. Yeah, where there's kind of like you get kind of this like he has a bit of a sadistic streak, which we already knew, but like that's definitely that where he's like, I get to watch Kira kick someone's ass. I'm going to see how far this goes.
Oh my god.
Classic Garrick.
Good stuff. But you're right. Worf in the end of this. And again, it's kind of cool how despite the kind of oops, we slept together with Ezri and Worf in the last batch of episodes. Now they're super cool, which I love. Yep. Which is I think in a lot of ways a testament to the fact that Jadzia and Worf grew this great friendship before they became a couple. They spent a year sparring, but they really developed a very deep, close personal relationship, which obviously still exists within Ezri's brain or in the slug in her belly. And she's able to also, do that with Worf. So she's counseling him, which is also what she does. But she's like, the Klingon Empire kind of sucks, because you get posturing, you get opportunists, you got this culture that's I'm all about honor and stuff, and then they're doing all this backstabbing and bullshit.
It's all of this classic political bullshit cloaked in the language of honor.
Oh, so much honor. But because Gowron, like I said, he turns truly like Machiavellian soap opera villain, from like Days of Our Lives. He's like, well, you're saying we were outnumbered 3-1. Well, a good commander doesn't hide behind the odds. He beats them. And it's like, bitch, you didn't do it. You're sitting back here picking your nose, sitting on the station, and we're all out there dying. And Cisco finally says, if we don't have the Klingons to help us fight the Breen because their ship until we develop a whatever it is to stop that, we're all screwed. So Gowron, you can't, maybe you're not watching us on YouTube, but Gowron needs to stop what he's doing. Worf, what do you think about that? Wink, wink, wink. Do you think Cisco was like, maybe you should just go, maybe he gets pushed over a railing or something? I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, you should get someone to challenge him. Like something happens to him. Worf, he doesn't need to die necessarily, but he needs to be, I don't know, hospitalized for a while.
Right. It was kind of like, I just watched the Nolan Batman trilogy recently, and in the first one you have Boss Falcone. He's like, hey, you know what? People get mugged on the subway going home. Sometimes bad things just happen. You know what I'm saying? So if that happens to be the girl from the DA's office, I don't know. It was that kind of deal. Oh, he's like, don't worry about it.
People get hurt on the promenade all the time. If Gowron trips up while trying to get a jump stick, what am I to say?
Yeah, maybe it goes right into his eye, like the Joker. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm saying, maybe he kind of tacitly told Worf, hey, you need to. And I love it because when Worf finishes him off, all the other Klingons are like, Worf, and they're putting the James Brown robe on him, and he's like, no, it's not me. This is for Gowron. And Gowron's like, don't do this to me, dude. Yeah. Oh, Martok. He's like, don't do this to me, man. This is not my thing. And he's like the guy who doesn't want to get called up for karaoke. No, okay.
He kind of gets like this really like sort of blasé sort of like power is thrust upon those who don't want it, and Martok's is like, yeah, okay, fine.
Yeah, right. Well,
he took so much convincing.
Yeah. Oh, he's not twisting his arm the way it happened with Rusat and Kira. That was really an arm twisting. That's not what this was.
Oh no.
Yeah. Come on now.
It was interesting how Gowron. So like the last time Worf killed a Klingon political figure,
there was
that guy Duras was on the ground and he stabbed the Batleth into his chest.
Yeah, and I love
this time Gowron's standing up and he gets Batleth pieces to the kidneys.
Right. Yeah, and I do love that was back in season 4 of TNG in the episode
Oh,
where
gosh.
Worf meets his son, and Duras kills Kalar, Worf's baby mama, and he's I love it how he walks. I love him there when he walks in the room. He says, "Kalar was my mate," and the other guys go, "Well, look at the time." They all take off, and then
well, shit, bye.
Yeah, when they're fighting, the door opens and Riker says, "No, Worf!" Thunk. Now I want to go watch that episode. I love that. I love that sequence.
Like that was the last time that Worf went and somebody. And
things just go bad when Worf decides to throw down. So it was pretty cool. And yeah, Worf set it up for his brother, man. He's, it's nepotism. I'm going to kill the guy, but I'm going to give it to my brother because they are brothers in the House of Martok. So I really thought that was pretty spectacular. So good stuff. Absolutely. Loved it. Other thoughts before we move on?
There's also the other plot is Kira going with the other everybody else to go steal a Jem'Hadar ship so they can figure out how the Breen weapon is working. They do end up doing it. There's some shenanigans that happened. Kira has to impersonate a Vorta over comms. It's the classic Han Solo move. Like, everything's fine. It's all normal.
How are you?
Yeah, that's basically what it was, which is pretty funny. Damar ends up killing Rasat, because he's not being helpful. And then we see the moment that they've been kind of leading up to of how Odo has been
finally collapses.
And that's kind of causing his condition to worsen, and then he collapses, and it's like, I didn't want you to see, Kira. And he's like, I already knew.
Yeah, right.
So we do have that, and at the end of this episode, like they get back to Deep Space Nine with the Jem'Hadar ship to get that Breen technology over to Starfleet intelligence, so they can be like, okay, how do we reverse engineer this stuff so that we don't get hurt by it anymore?
O'Brien does it in 5 minutes. He's like, I did it on the way back here. I called it in, and he was tech support, and somebody was probably, I got it. There we go. They just told him to turn it off and on again. That was just classic tech support. Reboot. Oh my goodness. All right. Episode 23. Take it away.
All right, episode 23, Extreme Measures, directed by Steve Posey, written by David Weddle and Bradley Thompson, aired on May 19th of 99. As Odo falls gravely ill to the shapeshifter disease, call it what it is, it's a morphogenic virus, Bashir and O'Brien must get inside the mind of Luther Sloan, who holds Odo's cure.
And he holds it conveniently in the existing sets of the Defiant because, this must be with the inside of his mind. Let's save some money for the finale, shall we?
Yes.
But this was great. So this gives us the last appearance of the spectacular William Sadler as Luther Sloan. A great role. This was Section 31. They never got it better than when they started it, because now, follow along with me, it's not so good. Because, in the opinion of these two stalwart, hardcore legacy Trek guys, should have left well enough alone. And really, even the novel series that they did, I read a few of those. I think I read the Bashir one, and maybe a couple of other ones, because they did several. But Section 31 is kind of one of those. They were kind of the Boba Fett of Star Trek. You know what I mean?
Section 31 is left better in the shadows as the boogeyman, where you're not really sure what they are. That's much, much better.
And then, I will say what they did with it in Enterprise, just a little sprinkling, a little
that was just a little
scary dust
bit to be like, oh wait, they're still around. They were around really early on. It's like, that was a nice little touch. But
if they had never done anything ever again, that would have been best, because what we saw in Discovery, awful. That TV movie, we said we would never talk about it again. I'll never watch it again unless it is an absolute, I'm flipping through that Star Trek and it's on, I will change the station. I will I will not be a part of it.
The only time that I would watch it again, I think, is if someone paid me to do a review.
I don't think that's going to happen, but you never can tell. But yes, we've trashed. Yeah, we've probably burned enough bridges with this speech. But back to talking about this episode. William Sadler is a great character actor who throughout the 80s, 90s, all the way really to today has just been everything and everybody, and plays a great villain. Was the villain in Die Hard 2. Which I did, again, fantastic, and was in this and a million other things that right now I can't think of any of
Bill
them.
and
Was in
Ted's Bogus Adventure is Death.
He was in Stephen King's the Mist, which is one of the early 2000 movies of his. It wasn't great, but I liked it. Sam Witwer was in that.
Oh.
Yes, he died a rather gruesome death. Whoops. But anyway, so yeah, we do get, and I love that. So most of this takes place like a holodeck within a holodeck, or at least that's what it feels like. Because
it's kind of Inception-ish.
It is way before Inception. But yeah, they said, well, everything about Section 31 exists within my mind is what he's saying, because he commits self-death. I know you can't say the S word anymore because I don't want us to get flagged. He terminates himself rather than be captured and being mentally interrogated, because
the 24th century version of a cyanide pill.
Right, exactly, Craig. You can still say cyanide, why not? But yeah, he knows that, because also Bashir says, well, I also got a Romulan mind sifter. And he's like, how did you get that? I know I bet Nog got it for him. Great material continuum?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
So,
or Quark.
Or Quark, yeah, for a pretty penny. Yeah, he can get about anything.
Well, I mean, the minute you tell Quark, it's like, this is to mess with someone who's in Starfleet. Absolutely.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Any chance to stick it to the man. But yeah, they end up kind of bouncing around, and nothing, you can't count on anything that you're seeing is real. Like, he gets a first name Luther said by a woman who says to his wife, I bet none of that is real.
I have mixed thoughts on that particular scene, because it's an interesting scene. Because it's kind of like it's almost like the tiny little part of Luther Sloan that is still a good person.
Yeah,
is trying to do like the last good thing before he dies. And then obviously his Section 31 side is just like, nah, this isn't going to happen, and offs him.
Yeah.
But that's what it kind of felt like, was like there was another film that did something like this, where you had like a good version of the person and and it's not Enemy Within.
I'm drawing a blank. I know what you're talking about.
But there was another thing where you're inside someone's mind, and you have like, here's the good me and here's the bad me, and that's kind of what that felt like.
Yeah,
where it was like, hey, welcome guys, I made it look like Deep Space Nine, so you weren't uncomfortable. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's my family as I'm going off to
be dead,
the beyond.
Yeah, right.
And so like, I'm gonna give you the cure and everything, I just want to say a few words, and pew.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's the devil on your shoulder versus the devil on your other shoulder.
Yeah,
but one of them is kind of sort of good. So it was what should have been a great send off for Section 31. I think for good, because there hasn't necessarily been another show, like canonically, there hasn't been another show that's followed this until that really they would have fit in.
Picard didn't mention Section 31 at all, I don't think. And
it would have made sense. I mean, they could have found a way to sneak it in, but again, like, this was a great ending if really all of Section 31 existed inside of his head, which who knows if that's true. But it would have been like, well, we finally killed off the Borg. Well, that never happens, but we think it happened at the end of Picard season 3, but we don't really know.
Unlikely, but
oh yeah, exactly correct. So it's unfortunate the direction that Section 31 took after its little cool preamble in Enterprise, like we said, was great. Anything that came after this point, timeline wise, we just don't need to talk about anymore, or production timeline wise. So, but good episode. I enjoyed it. I think they made effective use of doing the like, well, we're inside his mind, so it looks like we're in the wardroom, and that's cool. Like I said, save the money for the next 2 episodes, because they're going to be a doozy.
And then I thought it was also pretty funny how they did kind of the Inception thing, where it's like, we wake up, but we didn't actually wake up.
Right.
That was a fun little twist there towards the end.
Yeah, when he goes back to read his book, and the back half of his book is empty because he'd not read it before, so he can't remember something that didn't happen. Because it was like I said, it was a holodeck-ish kind of concept, but with much higher stakes. And obviously, eventually, they're successful and they're able to cure Odo.
And you do have a little bit of the Julian and Miles like best of friends thing,
right? And he says, well, the thing is, I really love Ezri, but I just can't tell her. Yeah.
And also I love Keiko, I like you, but I love Keiko. Like, there's just this back and forth of like,
well, you love me, right, bro? No, I like you.
It felt literally like it was,
but I don't like you. Like,
it was like Julian and Miles going like, /shippers, we see you. No.
What would you call? Oh, new name for the episode. What would you, if you shipped the two of them? What would they be called? What would be the name of the episode? Whatever it is you pick.
Oh gosh, Obra Shear.
Obra Shear. There we go. Let's see what people make out of that. Okay, moving on to episode 24. Dun dun dun. The Dogs of War. Rough.
Cry havoc and release the Dogs of War.
That's just what I was thinking. Directed by Avery Brooks. God, I would love to hear from Avery Brooks again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He has just been.
The last time we heard from him was the captain's interview with William Shatner.
Which we're actually going to talk about a few episodes down the road. It's on the schedule for us to break down the captain. So you'll hear it. I'll say the exact same thing again. I miss Avery Brooks. I really do. Story by Peter Allen Fields, teleplay by Renee and the brilliant Ronald D. Moore. From May of 1999, Sisko takes command of a new ship. I hear it's a Miranda class. Kira DeMar
it's an Oberth, guys.
Oh my God. Can you even imagine? All right, we're going off to fight the Dominion and we've got a Ford Escort. Yes. Oh my God. Okay. Nope. Fighting the Dominion in a Ford Escort. Now the name of Dominion in a Ford Escort. Sorry, I don't want to forget. Kira DeMar and Garrick stumble into a Dominion ambush on Cardassia and get stranded there, but they also discover the entire resistance organization has been destroyed. Meow, meow. That was my Debbie Downer. Ezri and Julian finally clear the air with each other. Smoochy, smoochy, smooch, smooch. Grand Zagus has an announcement to make, as does Cassidy Sisko. There is the two last things we mentioned, very soap opera-y, but actually they really, really work out. So the penultimate episode, compared to the penultimate episode of any other Star Trek show that is not serialized, so talk about stuff from TOS basically ending with Voyager or even really Enterprise, there is no real significance to the penultimate episode. I guess in Enterprise, if you want to discount the finale, which we don't anymore because Connor Trenier told us how important it was to him. So we have to like it now. I did actually see it recently on that same live Paramount Plus Star Trek channel. So much respect to Connor Trenier, who we talked to recently. He felt, if you didn't listen to our interview, that it was very fitting that he got to see his character have an end, and I appreciate that. But this was a penultimate episode that really teed up everything that we were going to be launched into emotionally on June 2nd, which is when the next episode drops. So the new ship is the Defiant. Didn't bother to change the model. Didn't bother to change the model number on it. The carpets are purple and Julian hates it. So
the little stands next to Sisko's chair are different.
And they have
panels.
They have we pulled this out of storage because we built this for Star Trek the Motion Picture console in the back where the little pool table thingy used to be, where the little table used to be.
I completely missed that.
Oh, that's funny. Well, Odo walks around it when explosions are happening on the bridge in the next episode, and he's pushing buttons. So that was,
I completely missed that. That's funny.
Maybe it wasn't even in this episode. Maybe they just snuck it into the next one, but have to do a little analysis. But yeah, it's the USS Sao Paulo, which Sisko got pre-authorization to change to Defiant, and I guess they decided to slap the old number on there too, but whatever. Then we didn't have to get a guy out there with the pencil to go and write the new one.
After the last couple episodes. It's
literally the last 2 years. Like, we don't want to do that. Now, see, if it was CGI, they wouldn't have any problem with this. Was in the old days, had to do it the old way. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's really a nut punch because Kira DeMar and their gang show up on a stolen ship on Cardassian. We're like, now we're gonna hook up with Gul so-and-so and he's gonna help us out. And they beam down to meet people, and Gul so-and-so has sold them out.
Surprise, it's an ambush.
And then they call up to my personal friend, Vaughn Armstrong. I say my personal friend because I've met him on the cruise in the cons, and he's a super nice guy. And he was one of the other Cardassians. He's being blown up and their ship explodes. And so, and then later on, there's a film that goes out all over Cardassia, voiced by Wei-Un, that every single one of the Resistance bases and people are dead. So they're just like, you know what? I'm going to go hide under my bed. Where can we go? Garrett goes to his childhood home and they move into the basement. Yeah. Exactly. So, oh my God, this is Wayne's World for Star Trek. Garrick's World really sucks. Cardassia. Woo, 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 woo. Oh my God, that just it just came to me. But yeah, that's all really very dire, and they're down in the dumps. Then we have a little levity, obviously, with Ezri and Julian saying, blah, 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 I like you, but it's weird. And then they're in the elevator, and they're like, we really totally shouldn't hook up. And then the elevator gets to ops, and they're making out. And then Worf looks at that and just very quietly pushes a button, and they go away.
Yep.
And then
Which
you
is
get
pretty funny.
I met Michael Dorn once, and he's just he's a great actor. I mean, the look on his face was just, I don't really know how I feel about this, but I know I don't want to look at it. Boop.
It's more of a really now.
Really
Bye.
now, really in front of everybody, in front of the prophets. How dare you? But yeah, the bit with we get our final moment of Ferengi stuff, our last appearance of Wallace Shawn as Grand Nagus Zek, where he's got a bad connection when he calls Quark because
It's raining.
It's raining.
Always raining.
There's an explosion at the power plant, and he goes, I want blah, 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 to you to be the new Grand Nagus. Well, when he shows up, what he really wanted and what Moogie wants, because they show up together, is for Rom to take the job. So now Rom is Grand Nagus. But when I
was watching it, I was listening to see if I could hear the correct name through the garble. You can if you pay attention.
Oh, okay. I think I had a similar over the years. I think I've done the same. But we also get a joint appearance of Brunt. Jeff Combs playing that role as well, but he also starts filling Quark in on how, well, there's been all these changes and how Ferenginar is becoming this democratic society and blah, blah, there's now a fund for war orphans and women are wearing clothing and they're out and about. And
now there's a council that has to approve decisions made by the Grand Nagus.
Right. You're not this all powerful. So Quark's like, well, I won't take the job and blah, blah, blah. And then he doesn't have to take the job because it's not offered to him. So, but Rom is super cool. He's like, it's cool. I know you sold the bar to me. Here's your money back. And he's like, you're an idiot, but I love you. And then that's the end of Rom and Lita. They're gone.
Yep.
And then of course, Cassidy, what happens when I thought this was hilarious. In the future, birth control is a shot that you have to get from your physician once a month to not run the risk of impregnating the other person. So how is birth control taken this dramatic leap backwards that you can't get it over the counter and give yourself, you actually have to get it from your doctor. Of course, people miss it. Who has time to go to the doctor every month? Especially when there's a war on. So Sisko didn't get his injection and Cassidy ends up pregnant. So, wow, not really great healthcare in Starfleet. I think that's kind of a thumbs down.
I thought it was funny.
It is funny, but it doesn't make any sense. But it ties into obviously what we're going to find out in our finale. Final thoughts about this episode before we really get into it. Sort of get into it, because again, our long analysis, the final episode is yet to come. That will come when we circle back.
I think that there's some really good arguments between Kira, Damar, and Garrick underneath in the basement. We see more of that in the next episode, but where they're just trying to figure out life sucks, and so they're trying to survive. Quark and Brunt is just really funny because now Brunt is being just a literal ass kisser. It's never too early to suck up to the boss.
Yeah, right. Anything I can do.
So it was so ridiculous. There's just a lot of fun, silly stuff in this episode because you have anytime the Ferengi, particularly Zek, is involved, there's always something silly.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a nice little. There's some serious stuff going on over on Cardassia, but there's enough silly happening on the station, some levity to be like, yeah, we know that the next episode is going to be a kick in the nuts, so have some fun before we do that.
And then we're going to kick you in the nuts. Yeah. Buckle up, Buttercup. All right, you want to take us through the emotional ride that is episode 25?
All right, episode 25, two-parter. What You Leave Behind.
My heart is what I left behind. Oh.
Yep. Directed by Alan Craker, written by Ira Stephen Bear and Hans Beimler. Aired June 2nd of 99. Cisco leads the Federation Klingon Romulan alliance in the offensive on the Cardassian homeworld, which they decided to do at the end of the previous episode. Aided by Damar's grassroots resistance campaign and a surprise last-minute ally, Dukat and Wynn journey to the fire caves to release the pirates.
Now, I'm going to take issue with the grassroots resistance campaign. I didn't see them walking around with clipboards. I didn't see any sit-in demonstrations. I didn't see anybody making a speech with the bullhorn. I just saw, them blowing stuff up. But I prefer what they did to all that other hippie bullshit. There, fight me. Oh my God. Now, portions of the very long, and again, it's certainly in the first and second acts of this, the very long space battle, and certainly there were recycled bits from previous big space battles and stuff, were converted now in our next episode. In place of the segment, we're going to be talking about the Deep Space Nine documentary, What You Leave Behind, for that, which was produced 3 or 4 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. And Andy Robinson, Garrick, comes on, and not as Garrick, but he played Garrick, comes on and talks about, all right, well, I know all people really want to see is all the stuff that we recomposited in HD. So here it is, and then we'll get into doing the show. Because this is, it's dramatically awesome what they do, and it looks even more beautiful in HD. And I know that one of the various slideshows that I have playing on my side computer features some of those images that I pulled off of Trek Core because they're just so gorgeous. But yeah, you're right. The Klingon Federation Romulan Alliance is joined by the Cardassians, who finally decide that enough is enough is enough, and they turn against the Breen, and this turns the Breen all the way back to Cardassia, so they surround it, and our people are making a plan to storm Cardassia while down on the planet. Garrick and Damar and gang get ready to storm, and I love it how at the last minute the guy who took Damar's place gets marched out and stabbed, and then Damar's people pop up and they start shooting. They fight their way into the building, and Damar finally gets his comeuppance. He gets blasted into oblivion. So the only two people left that make it to the briefing room, or where the female changeling and Weyoun are Garrick and Kira. And then Garrick does what we've all wanted to do. He just finally murders the last Weyoun. So bye-bye Weyoun.
Yeah. That was the last one. And you're just sitting in the back of your head going, finally.
Oh my God, are you serious? And so it's at this point that they're in a standstill, and they make contact with Cisco. Everybody stops what they're doing, and Cisco allows Odo to beam down and allows him to share the cure with the female changeling. Garrick is about ready to shoot both of them.
Garrick is about to just straight up disintegrate Odo. You can see it in his eyes.
Dude, that's a very bad idea, Constable. Yeah,
and you can see that there is that level of trust between Garrick and Kira, which is amazing because this was not there in season 1.
Right? Yeah, when they first met,
she hated him, and he did not trust her worth.
Well, they spent the last 3 or 4 months together, obviously.
Yep.
Building up that trust. And there's there's a decade of trust between Kira and Odo, which continues to play out throughout the rest of the episode, because it's in curing the female changeling that Odo decides that it's finally time for him to return to the Great Link and to effect a cure of his people, and then to stay with them. Which is, again, I would say, and again, I watched this, I had just graduated from college. The DS9 was my whole friggin' entertainment world. It was the best show that was on television. I can honestly say most of this I did not see coming. There were certain elements, like, okay, there's going to be a big slug out between Dukat and I'm sure Cisco, because the whole pod race thing is going to come to a head. But I had no idea how the whole war thing was going to play out. I had a very good feeling they were going to wrap it up because they couldn't just be like, and sorry, we're still at war. Show's over. Bye-bye. We're all still at war. So you knew they were going to wrap it up. Yeah. But you didn't know that basically every one of the antagonists outside of the regular cast, if you consider Quark to be one, was going to die or be changed. So kind of everybody, I can't think of another show where everybody got a resolution to what was going on with their character. Sort of.
Not really.
Except for Cisco, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Because, as we begin the third act of this, everybody is back on the station. They're signing the armistice. Bill, I was going to say Bill Adama, Bill Ross.
Yeah.
Admiral Ross has a great speech where he quotes, is it MacArthur from the end of World War II that he quotes?
I think so.
Or Patton? I think it was MacArthur. Well, obviously Ike, who became president. But
That's Eisenhower.
That's Eisenhower. Sorry, Eisenhower was also in World War II. Sorry, I'm really going to get blasted by somebody.
It's one of those guys.
It's one of those guys. There, we can change the name of the episode again. It's one of those guys. But yeah, the female changeling gets up and she's being escorted out by two security guys, and she stops long enough to say, "It's up to you now, Odo." So yeah, he knows what he's got to do. He's got to go be one with the Great Link, which is a beautiful scene. It's one of the last parts. Everybody kind of gets their own something. So O'Brien and family are moving back to Earth. He's going to teach at the academy. Worf gets offered
honestly, you should have some really good engineers, and then we get to Picard season 2, and I'm not sure that anyone actually paid attention in his class.
Maybe he died on the way home. No, because he becomes the most important man in Starfleet history, according to Lower Decks. Lower Decks in the future. But let's see here. Worf is going to become ambassador to Kronos. That was offered to him by Ross. Okay. And then Martok's sitting there. He's like, finally, he's like, bro, we can hang out.
Targ hunting with me.
He's super psyched. So he accepts that. We do get that Kira will end up taking over, but we'll get to that in a moment. But again, we're talking about an episode that's 25 years old, and I'm assuming that people have seen it. And if you haven't, I'm deeply sorry. But what are you doing?
Go
watch this. Go see it again. Forgot if you've been listening to this all along. So yeah, everybody's getting their end, but then we get this montage at the end, which cut out poor Terry Farrell, which I understand why. All of Worf's recollections are pretty much from this season. I definitely tear up. And one of my favorite parts is during O'Brien's, when he finds a little figurine on the ground, you hear some notes from The Minstrel Boy, which was a song that he sang in the episode The Wounded in TNG when we first meet the Cardassians and we first learned something about his background. Remember Captain Maxwell? That was the song that they sang. I don't know if you caught that musical reference.
I missed that.
Yeah,
usually I'm good at musical references, so that's cool.
That really got me back then, and it got me again. But just watching all of them say goodbye. And, Cisco's end is that he does finally show down with Dukat. Wynn dies. Boo-hoo. Sorry. We've all wanted that.
She does have a sort of, you could call it deathbed conversion where she tries to stop Dukat.
She has 5 seconds of goodness and then she is immolated. She's burned alive.
Yeah.
Because
she tries to sacrifice Dukat to the power raids to get them out, which kind of works, but doesn't fully, and then they resurrect him.
Yeah, exactly. So
sorry, Wynn, you're not their emissary. You are their pawn. Dukat is their emissary.
Yeah, Dukat. So Cisco throws himself at Dukat. The two of them fall into the blazing fire caves. The book is destroyed. That results in Cisco being forever imprisoned with the pirates within the fire cave. Cisco ends up in the Celestial Temple with his celestial mother, Sarah, who says, "You are finally home with us. This was your destiny. You're here to stay." And so he's at least able to go back to Cassie and say, "Sorry, this is what I'm doing." She says, "Oh, this is what they warned us about." He says, "Yeah, you're kind of right, but I belong to," much like Odo going back and curing his people. This was always where Cisco was supposed to be. So that surprised the hell out of me. So, and then that beautiful parting shot of Jake staring out the window. Kira walks up behind him, and they're kind of locked in arms as you're watching this long big pull. I still tear up. I don't know about you.
It's a really good final shot.
Yeah. The older I get, the more sophomoric I get about stuff. But watching this last week, this was one that, while I often will have these episodes on in the background, when it came to this episode, I sat and watched it and paid attention because I'm like, there is nothing but probably my favorite episode of all of Star Trek. And I don't know that that's ever going to change. It could. But I don't really know how it would ever change. So that's it. All right, man. What are your other thoughts before we do what we always do and rate?
Yeah, I do remember when I saw this the first time, I wasn't the biggest fan of some of how it ended. But remember, I was seeing this in college,
right?
So well after it happened,
right?
So I remember I wasn't the biggest fan of Odo staying gone. Like, I was fine with him going to the Great Link, but not that he was not coming back.
Right.
And I think I had the same reaction with Cisco in the same. It's like, I'm fine with him going to be with the Prophets, but it's weird that he can never leave.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's like the comics and stuff. He has come back
In the comic, in the comics, there's an entire series set behind him being the central character, so he comes back. Yeah.
So I think the only thing for me that still kind of sticks a little bit is that it feels like the Pa-Wraith storyline is wrapped up very quickly at the end.
Right.
I don't know what else you could really do.
Yeah.
But it felt like there needed to be a little bit more juxtaposition with what was happening in the Fire Caves and what was happening on Cardassia. Like, they tried to do that. I just think that it could have been done a little bit more explicitly, I guess, to make the battle on Cardassia and the battle on Bajor seem to have the same sort of cosmic significance. It's kind of a nitpicky thing, but it just from a storytelling perspective, for
I understand.
Me, it felt like it needed a little bit more. So that's like the one nit that I have to pick with this.
Right.
So
something to fluff. But yeah, that's the end of Deep Space Nine, which is it was a moment in time that will never come again. The beautiful holodeck program where we see Vic singing one last time. That scene was filled with all people from the writing staff, including Ira. I saw him right in the very first scene as they're talking. People are walking by. Ira is one of them. I think Hans is another one of them. Ron Moore is in there. So so much incredible stuff.
It's kind of the classic where it's like at the end of Enterprise where they sneaked a whole bunch of people.
Right. Yeah. Manny Cotto was sitting right there. We talked to Manny's brother earlier this year. Great guy.
And Larry was there. In the background.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Larry Nemechek, friend of the show and guest, was also featured in that Enterprise scene. All right. Well, this is not going to be super challenging to go through and choose a favorite, at least not for me. But how about for you?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna do the very, very standard and just say It's What You Leave Behind is gonna be my favorite, because there's so much going on there.
I know, and in a good way. It wasn't like it's not what we call in the ad game 10 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag. This was 100 pounds of stuff in a 100-pound bag. It was mostly perfect. 105 pounds.
It's not the mid-noughts, the third part film where it's just there's too much crap shoved into something. Yeah. So
right, yeah.
There's not too much crap shoved in it. There's just a lot going on. And
there's enough.
A lot of character development, and there's a lot of threads being tied up, and it's handled very, very well.
Right, absolutely. All right, and how about it's tough, but of the other four, which one is least superior? I guess the best way to say it.
As much as it pains me because I love the writer, I'm gonna have to say Tacking Into the Wind.
Ooh.
For the very, very simple reason, and everyone who knows me talking about this knows what's coming. It's because I don't like what they did with Gowron at the end. That's really the only thing that really sticks with me about this group of episodes. Is I just don't like how Gowron goes out.
I think we're kind of in alignment about this one. I think I have to agree with, because you're right. He has this radical, I've always been a little political, but I've also kind of been a warrior. And even though but they kind of drag him in this, his military experience, it ain't shit, they're trashing him when he's not around. And so, we've had this character who's been through hell and high water, the Klingon Civil War.
We know that Gowron's not like a military mastermind, but he is a warrior and he does know some stuff.
And he just seems like he's a punk in this, you know what I mean? And so that's weak. I totally agree with you there. That's hard to get around.
But get some justification in Star Trek Online if you play that. So he does return and go to Stovokor eventually.
As well you should. Well, that's the end of Deep Space Nine. It's so crazy. So we'll be back next time to talk about What You Leave Behind, the documentary, which I'm excited about. We have a great guest lined up. I'm always hesitant to announce a guest until they're actually on with us, because sometimes things change, but it's one of our recurring guests where we'll be talking about episodes 8 and 9 of Star Trek: Strange New Worlds, getting us ever closer to the finale of season 3. But that's been our show. Everybody, thank you for joining us. Peter, where do people find you out there?
You can find me around the interwebs at Petrus Aquinas. I'm not super active on social media, but you can poke me and I might say something.
Poke.
Generally, you can find me on Discord. That's the easiest place to find me. So Secret Friends Unite Discord and others. Same handle. You'll find me there. You can also find me over on ELH's channel, where I'm playing a Temerian chief engineer in a Star Trek Adventures game. And you can also find me behind the scenes on Starship Excelsior, where we just released a new episode last week.
Awesome. We should start plunking those in the show notes so people can actually find it. You'll have to remind me. And as for me, I can be found on Blue Sky, Threads, and Instagram as @the-C3, TheCeeThree. Of course, Secret Friends Unite on all those kind of same things. We've also been dabbling with starting up a TikTok, kind of doing a little man on the scene, talking about, hey, this thing or that thing. But more on that as time goes by. But with that, yes, visit our Discord. It's a fun, safe place chat to talk about all kinds of geek culture, pop culture, what have you. If you don't find us looking on Discord, ping one of us and we will send you an invitation because we'd love to have you there. But with that, I will bid you adieu until next time. I will say, as always, that sharing is caring and to keep on trekking.
Peace and long life.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and podcast services around the galaxy, as well as video on our YouTube channel. You can support Secret Friends Unite by becoming a Patreon member, get bonus programs and more over at patreon.com/secretfriendsunite. Join our Discord community for even more discussions on all things geek. For all the latest updates on Secret Friends Unite, make sure to follow us on Threads at secret.friends.unite and visit secretfriendsunite.com. Find our merchandise at TeePublic and Redbubble. Thanks for listening, and may the Force live long and prosper.